3. Once again, we're going to carry on with our maths lessons. So today we once again carry on with some more addition and subtraction. Hopefully you found Monday's lesson quite useful and a little bit trickier. We are trying to move on a little bit further now, so let's see how you do today. Okay, so again, as always, this is just a reminder. So if you need to pause, remind yourself of our method. If you don't, just wait and we'll skip past this onto the next ones. Again, you can pause if you want to remind yourself of the method. If you need to. If you don't need to, just keep playing the video. Okay. So today we are subtracting, and we are subtracting 3-digit numbers from 3-digit numbers, but we're not exchanging. So it should be nice and straightforward today, not too tricky. So we should be able to fly through this one. So bigger numbers, but no exchanging, so we don't have to do any tricky crossing out and exchanging those tens or hundreds. Okay, so let's get started. So the first question says complete the column subtractions. So you have got your place value chart to help you if you need it, but most of you should be okay by now. And here is your first question. So you've got 358 subtract 226. For B, you've got 726 subtract 303. Again, you've got a place value counters there. So if you want to, you could draw that out, cross them out as you go to help you, or you can just work it out on the column subtraction. Number 2 just says complete the column subtraction. So complete the subtraction. So you've got 672 subtract 471. And then you've got 563 subtract 151. So again, if you need to draw anything to help you with this, please do. You should be okay today because we're not doing any exchanging. Number 3, Ron is working out 785 subtract 257. So you can see his calculation there. So do you agree with the way that Ron has set out the subtraction? And why or why not? So have a look at what he's done. He's written 257 subtract 785. So have a look at how he has set that out. Do you think he's done that right? If not, what has he done wrong? What should he have done instead? You can write a short sentence to say what he's done wrong, and then you can write down the answer of what he should have done right. Show me how he should have set it out. You don't have to work that one out. It's more looking at the presentation and how we're setting out a subtraction on this question. Number 4, use the number line to work out the subtraction. So you've got 355 subtract 240. So your first one has been done for you. So they've drawn a number line between 100 and 400. They've marked on their biggest number, 355. They have subtracted, they've partitioned this number into hundreds and tens. So they've subtracted that hundreds, the 200, and then they've subtracted 40 from that rather than doing one big jump. So what would go down here in this box? So what would my answer be? Okay, and your next one then, so you've got your example of how to set out your number line from your first one. So for B, you need to think, right, well, what would I partition this number into? And how would I work this one out? So you need to first of all mark on 835 somewhere on that number line, and then think, right, I need to now subtract 501. So are you going to partition it into individual hundreds, or are you going to half it? How might you work that out? It's quite straightforward, that one, because it's not a very tricky number to take away. Number 5, a TV costs £120 less than this computer. How much does the TV cost? So you know the cost of the computer, you know how much less the TV costs. So you could either draw a number line to work this one out, or you could, again, as normal, do our column subtraction. Just make sure if you're doing that, you line up our digits in the right columns. Make sure your ones in the same line, your tens in the same line, and your hundreds in the same line, or else it'll get confusing. Number 6, there are 849 people at a concert. There are 625 adults at the concert. How many children are at the concert? So your first one, work out how many children. So you know the amount of people in total, you know the amount of adults, so how many children are there? And then for B, how many more adults are there than children at the concert? So what's the difference between adults and children? How many more are there? Think about how you would work that one out. So you know how many adults there are. You should have worked out how many children there are. So what's the difference between those two numbers? Again, you could do a number line, you could do a column subtraction. Either way. Number 7. What are the values of each of these shapes? So now you need to try and think carefully. Remember, we are not doing any exchanging today. So all of these numbers should be within 10. You shouldn't have to do any crossing out and carrying. So 8 take away something equals 5. Something take away something equals 1. And 6 take away something equals something. So one of those is you have to follow quite strictly. The others are a bit more up to you. For the next one, you need to try and make sure things match up, because you have your diamond here needs to match this diamond here. So what could this number be to take away from this number to get the same number? So have a think really carefully about what your answers could be for this one. Number 8, it says complete the part-whole models. Now, with a part-whole model, as we know, the top one, the one which has got the line, all the lines coming out of it, so this one's got 2 coming out, this one's got 3 coming out, that one will be our biggest number. All the other ones will be smaller than that, because that is our whole, and these are both a part of that whole. So these two numbers make up this number. So if this is my answer, my biggest number, then this one and this one would add together to make this one. So to find this one, I would do this, take away this. Again, for this one, this is my biggest number, so this one will be smaller. So using these two numbers, how can you work out what this one would be? So use all these 3 numbers to work out this one. You might want to do something with these 2 first, and then do something with this one. Or you might do something with all 3 at once. It's up to you. Number 9. Eva is subtracting 727 from 1000. First, I subtract 1 from each number. Then I subtract the 2 numbers. So 1000 minus 727 is the same as 999 minus 726, which equals 273. Why does Eva's method work? Talk to a partner. So why do you think Eva's method works? Write a little explanation, and you could talk to an adult or someone around your house, a sibling maybe, who might help you to understand that question a little bit. So have a look at what she's done. You might even want to work out both of those calculations to see if they are actually right, see if you agree, and to write your answer. Number 9 says use Eva's method to complete the subtractions. So again, Eva's method is to subtract 1 from both of those numbers. So instead of 1000 take away 285, you do 999 take away 284. So again, use her method to work these out. The idea being that you don't have to then do some crazy exchanging from 1000, because obviously if we were trying to take this number from this number, we'd have to exchange the 1000 onto the hundreds, and from the hundreds onto the tens, and from the tens onto the ones, before we could even do any kind of thing with this number. So Eva's method cuts out a lot of exchanging. So I'll use Eva's method for this one. Okay, time for answers. Again, if you haven't written anything for some of the questions, please do go back, try and fill in an answer. And we will show you the answers next. Okay, so here you go. I will leave that on for a second if you want to pause, and you can check your answers. And for your next ones, and those are your answers. Again, a few questions here where you've had to use a slightly different method to what we would normally use. You've had to apply your skills a little bit more. So I hope you've found those interesting, particularly question 7. I quite like that one. It's quite a tricky one to get your head around. So I hope you've enjoyed those today. I will see you on Friday for our last maths lesson of the week. Bye.